What's going on, guys? Seancutshair back with another video. Today I'm going to show you guys some shear techniques, some shear basics. For those of you who struggle with using your scissors or shears, I want to break down some things about head shape, following different guidelines, and how to cut the top of the head with shears. We're not really going to focus on scissor over comb or any of those techniques, but basically I'm going to show you guys a few haircuts and how to go about cutting that using your scissors and your comb. So first thing, guys, I do have two pairs of shears that you can see here. This is a 7-inch. This is a 5.5 inch. Now the reason that I have the 7-inch, you guys can see the comb here. These are my wide teeth. And if I put my blade in front of it, you guys can see the blade of the shears covers the entire length of the teeth right here. So when I'm doing scissor over comb, this is gonna cover a little bit more ground. And like I said, this video is not about scissor over comb, but I would not use these 7 inches to come in and cut over finger. If you guys have never heard that term, guys, we have scissor over comb, clipper over comb. This is scissor over finger. So I recommend using a smaller shear, like a 5-inch or a 5.5 inch. You guys can see I'm able to come in here and get real precise and use these smaller scissors to cut over finger. Now, if you guys can only afford one pair of shears, I would definitely recommend having something like a 6 or a 6.5 inch. That's gonna be somewhere in the middle, small enough you guys can do your detail work, also big enough to cover some ground. You guys see these small ones. If I go in and shear over comb with these, I'm not covering much ground. It's gonna take me a whole lot of time. Now, both of the shears that I've shown you guys are fresh shears. If you guys haven't seen my video on fresh shears, click the card right here. And guys, I do have a discount code if you're interested. There's a link in the description. You guys can save 5% on one pair, 10% on two, and 12% on three. And guys, these are all that I use. So I actually have 5 different pairs on my station and they work very well. But anyway, guys, my choice of shear for these type of haircuts is a 5.5 inch. You guys see I do have a thumb grip on there. You can get them on the website as well. But I use a 5.5 inch, guys. It's gonna be precise when I come in and do point cutting, small enough that I can come in and cut over finger. And then when I need my bigger shear for shear over comb, I will pull those out and do my shear over comb. Now, sometimes if I have to detail a spot, I can come in with these and get real precise, but I do use these for cutting the top of the hair and most of my precision cutting. I use my bigger ones for shear over comb. One last thing I want to talk about before we get into the haircuts, guys, is the general rule of thumb is to not cut past your second knuckle. So that means when you pull the hair up, you cut until you get to this knuckle right here, and then you stop, and then you grab the hair again and cut to that knuckle. Reason being, guys, if you keep chasing the hair, when you get back inside of your fingers here, very likely that you're gonna cut yourself. And you guys see a lot of hairstylists and barbers have cuts back here on their knuckle, and that is because they chase the hair past the second knuckle. Same thing on the inside. I don't know if you guys saw my last haircut video, but I was doing some block graduation, pulling the hair out, and I chased past my second knuckle and I cut myself on the inside of my palm. So very easy to do, and I definitely recommend not chasing that hair. Of course, guys, the better that you are, the more you can go a little bit past that. But general rule of thumb, you guys don't want to cut past the second knuckle. Now, I want to show you guys one more thing before we go into the haircuts, basically how to hold your comb while you're doing your scissor work. You guys see with my thumb in the scissors, I can't really grab the comb. When I started, this is how I held it. And one other problem with that, guys, is if you do open your fingers up to be able to hold the comb, sometimes the scissors will be open at the top and you can catch some hair and cut some hair. So at least what you want to do is take your thumb out, grip the comb your section. You're holding the hair in these fingers. You're gonna stick your comb in your thumb and your fingers, come out. You'll put your thumb back in there, cut the section, pull your thumb out, grab your comb and comb another section. Now, what I like to do, guys, it's a little bit more advanced, but if you guys just spend like a day practicing this, it will be super easy. But I'm gonna cut my section. I'm gonna flip my shears back. You guys see I just took my thumb out and almost let them fall back. Now they're held in my pinky, and now I can use my comb, and I have a lot more freedom with this comb to do different things. Then I get my section. Again, I put my comb in my thumb. I just flip them forward, thumb in, cut my section, flip them back. So you guys see that it's super easy. That's also gonna keep the point away from people's faces. And sometimes when I cut kids, I notice I'd be trying to cut little kids with my scissors like this, and I'm almost stabbing mom in the face. So another easy tip you guys can do, just flip them back in your hand, grab your comb. You have a lot more freedom with your comb in both hands. And then when you're ready to cut, just flip them out. You guys can cut. Anyway, guys, let's get into these haircuts. I'm gonna break down a couple haircuts for you guys and show you guys how to use a traveling guide and also how to do different haircuts like a balanced, rounded haircut. We'll do a crop top, we'll do a finger length haircut. I got a few examples in there. So let's get into the haircuts. I hope it helps you guys. All right, guys, so the first haircut we're gonna jump into is probably the most common haircut you guys are gonna see at the barbershop. Clients that want it absolutely as short as you can go with your scissors. So this is a finger length haircut is what I would call it. That means, guys, my fingers are to the head. They're flush to the head. I'm not pulling the hair up and cutting it any specific length. So you guys see I'm using my comb to hold the hair up, sliding my fingers into the side, and then I'm cutting that to the length of my fingers. Now, of course, we all have different size fingers, so sometimes if they want it a little bit shorter, you may need to use a guard, but just make sure you guys are grabbing that as tight to the head as you can, and then you'll just cut across the top of your fingers like we talked about with your scissors. I normally do a pass down the middle from front to back, and then I do another section on each side, and that should cover majority of the hair on top. Depending on the client's head and how much hair they have, you may need to do 4 or 5 passes or sections, but you guys see I'm able to get all the rest of the hair on this side of the head, and then we will work on the other side of the head and clean that up. And this really wouldn't be considered a traveling guide because my guide is my hand against his head. So my fingers are flush against the head, like I said. There's no need to look for a guide or to follow a guide because the guide is my fingers following his head shape. So we're just gonna make sure our fingers are snug to the head every time, and it should be consistent. Now we're gonna move to vertical sections, meaning going from front to back. And you guys see we have high points and low points. Now that is created, and this is very hard to explain. You just have to get your hands in there and it will help you guys understand. But when we're taking our sections, we're pulling some hair straight out from the head, but some of the hair is traveling from the front and back of the section to the place that we're cutting. And so when we move to the side, we can see the high points that is caused from that hair traveling further than coming straight out of the head. So when we cross check, we're just looking for the high points and the low points, and we're gonna make everything match the high points. And so just like you would cross hatch when you're drawing, and when we do lines from 2 different directions, it will cover more area. That's basically what we're doing here. So we went horizontally to begin with, and we actually cut some lines in. Now when we cross check vertically, we're gonna take off the peaks, and that will make sure that everything is consistent. Now for this next haircut, we're gonna take about 1 inch off all over, and we're gonna cut a round shape. So that means we're gonna follow his head shape. In the middle, we're gonna pull the hair straight up, and when we get to the hair on each side, we're gonna pull it straight out from where it grows, rounding to his head. This is also gonna be a balanced haircut, which means no matter which direction that he combs it, it's gonna lay nice. This is not a disconnected haircut like a side part or something like that, where one side is longer and the other side blends in. So you guys see I'm using my scissors to pull the hair back. I apologize, you can't really see the guide on here very well, but I am using my scissors to pull the hair back out of the way and see the guide underneath. And then honestly guys, most of the time I'm cutting like this, it's more muscle memory. So I just know, if you guys can pay attention, I'm grabbing the hair with my pointer finger and my middle finger, and then I'm using my pinky finger and my ring finger to push and pull those fingers up to the length that I want to cut. Now if you guys can't do that, you don't have the muscle memory yet, then you need to look for that guide. Much easier when we get to this next section though. We have our guide from the middle. Again, we're gonna pull it straight out from where it grows, not straight up. We're gonna pull it out kind of diagonal because that is where it is growing out of the head. We have our guide in the middle, and we're just gonna connect everything together. Once we work all the way back here, we'll go to the other side and do the same thing. Now same thing as the first haircut guys, we're going to cross check the top vertically, and we should have those peaks and valleys that we talked about. So we're just gonna take off the peaks and make sure that everything is nice and consistent. And I usually do this in about 3 sections. So you guys see I'll go straight down the middle, comb the hair this way, I'll do this other section on this side, and then we'll work back towards me and cut that last section vertically until we get all the peaks off. And I didn't mention this yet guys, but I am wearing a white barber cape as I cut the hair, just so you guys can see the hair. With my black apron on, it does make it a little bit difficult to see. Now for this last haircut, we're gonna be doing some point cutting for some texture. So I'm basically gonna decide how much I wanna take off. You guys see I have about 1 inch of hair sticking out, and we're gonna go in at about a 45-degree angle and do a point cut. You guys see the steel blade is basically against my fingers, and I'm using the cutting blade to come in and cut those point cuts into there. So what we're basically creating is a consistent high point and a consistent low point. Now we can't really see the guide. Again, I'm using my muscle memory here just to know how much I want to take off. It's consistent from the last haircut that he just got, and so I know I can come in and take off the same amount, and we will cross-check again just the same way and make sure that everything's consistent. But if you guys aren't comfortable with point cutting, just slow down. You see I'm not going super fast. Just slow down. You're only taking 2 to 3 to 4 cuts per section, so just slow down and go in there and make those point cuts. Alright guys, that is it for my shear work video. I hope that it was helpful for you guys. Like I said, if you want to check out fresh shears, click the link in the description and use the code Seancutshair, guys. You can save a decent amount. These are great quality shears. And like I said, if you can only afford one, I would go with a 6 or 6.5. If you guys can get a couple, I absolutely love these 5.5s for my detail and the 7s for my shear over comb. If you guys liked the video, do me a favor, smash that thumbs up. Make sure you guys subscribe. We are still on the way to our 50K giveaway and you guys don't want to miss that. Leave me a comment down below and let me know if these techniques helped you and if you appreciated this video, what you learned the most. But I appreciate you guys watching as always, and I'll catch you next time.